Welcome to Red V TV, supported by Chapel House Cars for the 2025 season. As we build up to Saints 2025 Betfred Super League campaign, which kicks off in just 23 days' time against the Salford Red Devils and what remains of their rotting carcass of a squad. Kev, with 23 days to go, it can only mean one thing.
It's our number 23. It's Jake Burns, and Jake is sponsored by PD Law Solicitors.
PD Law Solicitors specialise in conveyancing and property matters, and they understand that buying, selling, or remortgaging your property can be a stressful and an often frustrating process, and they can help you with that. They also deal with wills and probate, personal injury, or lasting powers of attorney, so that when the Salford fans fill us in, uh, people know
Fill
what.
you in. I've not said anything. I've not said anything.
Uh, an independent family-run solicitors practice based in Widnes, your home, Kev.
Yes, yes. Where I
Anyway,
currently reside.
Jake Burns, um, huge positive from last season. Proof that hard work, application, and a little bit of skill will get you where you need to be. And for him to get the 23 shirt this year, uh, phenomenal. And I fully expect Jake Burns to get a lot of game time this season.
Yeah, 10 appearances last year is probably more than he hoped for. And already, I feel Saints fans are confident enough in his abilities as a third choice nine to, if we have got one of our lads missing because they need to fill in elsewhere or they've got a knock or whatever. I don't think Saints fans are that are going, oh no, what are we going to do? They're saying, yeah, Jay Burns, get him on the bench, get him, make sure he gets on the park and shows us what he can do. It might be a slightly different year for him next year. There's not the surprise element that he brings as being a new player to our opposition, but his work rates, his efforts, kind of what he brings to the team. I think it took us all by surprise. Those of us who weren't familiar with his game took us by surprise. And good on the lad for taking his chance and being one of those players that I think he got dropped towards the end of the year, and fans outside the ground were saying, "I think he's been harshly done too." There,
It's it's crazy to think 3 years ago, January 2022, he's 21 years old. He's working as an accountant at PD Law Solicitors. And he gets a 3 month trial from playing from Holton Hornets to come on trial at Saints. And 3 years later, we're expecting him to play regular games in Saints' first team.
yeah, it's a great story. It's an absolutely great story. Um, and you're right, we are expecting him to play this year. Fully expecting him to get game time. Fully expecting him to show us what he can do, what he's kind of picked up from last season. Um, it's tough to kind of say much more about it because we're expecting him to play. This isn't someone who you're expecting to kind of, oh, will he get a handful of games here or there? No, I'm expecting him to probably beat that number of 10.
Yeah, and considering he only made his Super League debut in July,
Yeah.
and he's still got as many tries as our winger for the previous 2 years in T. Ritson.
Yeah, yeah, it's great awareness for his tries as well. Although arguably you just pointed into the fact that a hooker's scoring tries and going straight down the middle. That's why wingers aren't scoring tries.
Yeah.
But he had to take the chance, and he took his chance very, very well. Um, there isn't an awful lot more to add because Jake was such positive from last year, and we've got the positive kind of vibes going into this year from him. So, what else? What else? What else are you going to ask me about him? What else are you going to say?
Well, Moses and Bay is off contract at the end of 2025. He's taken up a
Yeah,
quota spot. Darrell Clark is your starting hooker. Jake Burns needs to do enough this year that Saints don't feel it worth offering a new deal to Moses to take up a quota spot when if Jake Burns is good enough to be your backup hooker.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's the pressure, obviously, on Kieran Nolan and Cole Marsh, who can play 9, to then step up to be third. But yeah, you're right. I think Moses is a properly big part of our squad. But when you look at quota and you look at salary cap and us having to juggle everything, you're right that Jake's got to push himself, got to push himself that little bit more. And again, when he's on the field, make his mark. I think he's great passing the ball off the floor. He makes defenses think by taking on the line as well. It's just, I think the thing with has he got a kicking game? Has he confident enough with his kicking game that sometimes he can step out of dummy half and knows the right time to put the kick in behind and possibly turn a wing around? That Moses is, I think, arguably the best in-play kicker at the club at the minute. So that's a big skill to lose. But I mean, you look at ages. Moses, 31 at the minute. There's
32 in
32
August.
in August. Yeah. So you've got to look at that when you're weighing up giving contracts. Jake has got to be looking to push.
And I think that's the issue though,
Especially,
Kev. If Moses is 32 in August,
yeah.
if you renew Moses and you renew Jake Burns, does that cut out the chance for one of them young lads who have come in, Kieran Nolan and Cole Marsh, to take the third hooker spot if you extend for a couple of years? So for me, in terms of squad progression, if Jake does enough to become backup hooker, that then allows one of those young lads to progress into third choice hooker. And you've got to have
But
that
then
succession plan.
but them lads have got to be good enough. You're not just
Absolutely.
giving like,
But
yeah,
I think if you went back to our preview of Jake Burns last season, we basically said he's going to take the Taylor Pemberton role. Chances are he's not going to see the field.
yeah, yeah,
I've not watched it back last season's one, but I bet you if I did, I know exactly what we'll have said.
yeah, yeah. I think you said that to me kind of before we even started filming. That was the case, and he's completely blown that out the water.
Yeah, Jake Burns should give hope to anybody who's got a squad number at Saints that you might get your opportunity.
Yeah, hard work. He's not come through the traditional route. He's just got his head down, load of hard work, and made it happen. And that's something that I think we've almost covered with other players, that he has made it happen. I say it all the time about players. You've got to be one of the best 17 at the club. If you're one of the best 17 at the club, you're in that. You're not being left out for someone. You're in that. James Roby did it back in the day. Made sure that he was in that 17 and then he was back up to Kieran Cunningham. And people say he had to get past the world's best hooker to get there, and then he took over the mantle. But he did that by starting at the point of being a halfback, really, but pushing himself and making it work. Jake Burns, well, listen, Jake, I'm sorry, I'm not going to necessarily compare you directly with James Roby, but it's a similar thing that he's making it work. He's putting the hard work in to try and get into that 17.
Okay, number 23, Jake Burns, done and dusted. Back tomorrow for our number 22. Catch you soon.